One of the most iconic designs of all time is the Porsche 911, and this is the brand new model with the chassis number or model number 991. It's a bit confusing because 911 is also known as a Carrera, also known by its chassis number, and this is the latest. They've gone through a series of different numbers, 964, 993, 996, 997, and this is 991. This is really only stuff that Porsche files know about. Regardless, it's a brand new car and it is very different. The biggest change is the length of the wheelbase, the distance between the front and the rear wheels. 100 millimeters has been added, 10 centimeters. That might not sound like a lot, but in terms of engineering and automotive design, this is a massive departure. The interesting thing is this car is only slightly longer than the previous model, but it looks a lot longer because they've stretched those wheels out. They've gone with a shorter overhang in the front, a shorter overhang in the rear, and a car that looks squat. The windshield is raked at a steeper angle. The roof is actually lower, so it has a long, low, flat kind of look. And because of that, the car doesn't have a lot of curves side to side. Older cars, especially cars like the 993, have beautiful curvy hips, and this one is kind of flat along the side. What you'll notice around the back is a car that has a very unique look. This is the one view of a 911 that instantly says it's a Carrera. It's a 911, it's a Carrera, it's a 991, and it's all been advertised here on the back of the car. There's a lot of business going on here. Porsche says along the back, 911, Carrera S. A little bit too much bling for my taste. In the old days, it just used to have Carrera S and that was it. But you know what? People are paying all the money to get this car, maybe want to have that advertising factor. The taillights are a lot narrower now, and some have said it looks Aston Martin inspired, and I would agree with that. It's a very tidy package back here. When you open up the rear deck, there's really nothing to look at. And a technician told me in some instances, just to do regular maintenance, they have to take the whole back end of the car off. And I asked the question, well, aren't there quick releases to get all of this bumper off so they can access the back of the car? And he said, no, they've got to go screw by screw, take it all apart and then reassemble it, which adds up to a big bill if you need to have extra maintenance done on this car. There's also been a departure in design when it comes to the spoiler that's integrated in the back. Previously, you had the whole rear deck would tilt up to provide that spoiler at speed. Now you have this part remain and this big spoiler across the back tilt up at a kind of awkward looking angle, and it doesn't look as elegant as previous versions that had that kind of ducktail look. This one has been integrated. It looks good when it's down, when it's up, not so much. The interior that debuted in the Porsche Panamera is migrating. It's gone from that car to the Cayenne, now to the new Carrera. It'll be seen in the Boxster shortly and the Cayman. It's basically the architecture on the inside they're going to use for all of their cars, and it is one of the best in the business. The fit and finish inside this Carrera is spectacular. The materials are first rate. Granted, this one does have an optional full leather interior, which is mega bucks. It's got the optional sport seats with a multitude of adjustment. It brings in the lumbar support on the sides, the support. It even has an extender on the bottom. Beautiful seats. The steering wheel and the controls are all made of high quality material. When you look at the aluminum finish here, it isn't plastic, it's the real deal. Alcantara roof liner, great seating position. Even though a lot of people have complained and said maybe this new Carrera is a GT car, when you sit in the car and you drive it, it doesn't feel that way at all. It still feels like a tidy small package. You're basically cocooned inside a small car. The passenger and the driver sit closely together. The roof, even though it's lower, there is the same amount of headroom as the older car. The way they achieve this is the sunroof now pops up instead of retracting down and inside the cabin. The seats are comfortable, as I mentioned. The back seats, even though there's more leg room because of the longer wheelbase, are really still small and only basically a fun place for kids to sit until they're about 10. This new 911 has a new base motor. It's 3.4 liters instead of 3.6 liters from a flat 6. It produces more power, 350 horsepower. When you get the S model I'm driving, you get up to 400 horsepower. That's from a 3.8 liter engine. These cars are lighter, they're faster, and they're more efficient than the models they replace. The main reason Porsche went to a longer wheelbase, they state, is high-speed stability, which really isn't a problem in North America, but for Autobahn speeds, it definitely would be an improvement. People that take their Porsche 911 to the track might also benefit from this. Regular drivers benefit in two ways. First of all, with a longer wheelbase, you get a more compliant suspension over regular driving roads. The biggest change I noticed with this car is it has the adjustable suspension. You can put it into sport chassis or you can drive it just in the regular mode. In the old car in regular mode, it used to bounce over bumps, especially the backhand suspension. Now when you're in regular mode, not sport chassis, it feels like a regular passive suspension. Gives good feedback to the driver. If you want that extra step, you hit the sport chassis and you're good to go. For all those people that say that this is now a GT or a Gran Turismo car, I couldn't disagree more. You look at a car like the Nissan GT-R, it feels much bigger when you're driving that car. Once you get into this new 991 and you drive it for a while, you forget all about the older model. It doesn't feel much bigger. Actually, it's really not that much bigger. It's slightly longer. It has a longer wheelbase, but for people on the inside, what they benefit from is a nicer interior, and I'll take that. So for anybody that dismisses this 911 as a GT car, just drive one for a while. You'll change your mind.